The Sims is turning 25, which means I've been micromanaging virtual lives for way too long. But somehow, by starting as a Sims stan, to working in the gaming industry, to talking about my favourite game on the internet, it ended up playing a massive role in mine too. Who knew a game about pixel people would help me find myself? Let's take a look at how The Sims has shaped my life and maybe even yours. Hi, my name is Alex. I'm an Australian Sims creator with the handle WoohooTattoo, but we'll get into that shortly. Just a quick thank you to the EA Creator Network for sending me codes for some of the content that's featured in this video and for giving me opportunities over the years to be able to do this with you. All right, enough sappy stuff. Let's start at the very start. Nubu. Okay, not that early. It's the year 2000. Everyone was terrified about Y2K, but really we should have been worried about forgetting to save our games. This was a huge year for me, actually. I was now a teenager, I was in my first year of high school, and we just moved house for the first time, which meant I could get the internet. Oh my god, I know. Dial-up internet. The computer that we had was like an old DOS PC. It kind of looks like this. So the games that I played were from a floppy disk. Yeah, you know, the save icon. These games were like Sim Farm, Lemmings, Commander Keen, and sometimes Dad might let me play Wolfenstein, but it scared me. I remember the day that Dad bought us a new computer, and he was very proud, but it never really worked properly. I reckon it was the motherboard that was dodgy. But it did have a CD-ROM, so I could play more games like Theme Hospital, Age of Empires, and Roller Coaster Tycoon. So the internet in the early 2000s sounded like this. And you couldn't be on the phone at the same time, so it was one or the other. And I used to call my friends after school and sit on the phone and play games with them for hours. I sometimes would leave the phone on the desk to go and do the dishes or something, and I would forget, and then I'd come back like hours later and my friend would just still be there, and I'd be like, "Cola, are you there?" She's like, "Yeah, my Sim just peed herself." So here comes 2001. Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring, and Harry Potter, Philosopher's Stone have just made it into cinemas. But I had something else to distract me. My mum's work colleague had just told her about a game that his kids were playing and gave me their copy. This was just after Living Large and House Party expansion was released. The first house I made was my immediate family, and my younger brother got stuck in bed and then taken away by the social worker. Sorry, Sam. Look, I clocked so many hours that I had like Tetris dreams about playing it in my sleep. So after purchasing Hot Date expansion to add to my game, I knew this was it. Sims was my boo. One of the friends who lives up the street became one of my Sims buddies, and we used to try installing it on her computer, and I remember when it would get to like 99% and we would chug, chug, chug to encourage it to install properly, you know. We'd even bribe it money in the floppy disk slot. Just kidding. All while we're listening to the top 40 on the radio, and we'd record our favourite songs like Hey Ya by Outkast on cassette tapes. And one day for our birthday, we went to the biggest shopping mall in our area and we played this version of Marco Polo. But instead of using Marco Polo, we used Sims words, Mashuno, Corral. And today we still call each other Mashuno and Corral. So as the end of The Sims 1 grew closer, I was a frequent on Sims fan sites, custom content websites, and even the forums to get the latest news on the expansion packs. And I even had this folder with all the announcements printed out. But my computer was still not good enough to play The Sims 2, so I had to wait. Also, I was like almost in year 12, so I had to like focus on my studies, whatever. So like maybe I need a new computer for that. I got a new computer, which meant that I could play The Sims 2 in early 2005, probably just before the first expansion, University, came out. However, this was my final year of high school, and despite being smart, school was never really kind to me. I had lots of acquaintances, but I did fall out with my main friendship group early in the year, so I spent most of my time alone in the library. I was also bullied, and that year I was diagnosed with depression. This led me to wagging school a lot. That's playing hooky for you non-Aussies. And I remember being at home playing Sims University thinking, yes, my Sim's getting the best grades. She must pass her classes. And then looking at my watch and being like, oh, it's 1 p.m. I probably should have gone to my classes today. Whoops. But I was known to do a cheeky post on the Sims forums. Mostly these corny, over-filtered edits of my Sims pics or like close-up Sims 2 details. I mean, look at that. Yeah, I was severely depressed, but like emo was in, okay? So I was all about that. MySpace was the new thing. We had our top 8 and we had neglected our Neopets. So around 2006, 2007, I was too busy getting crunk and going to gigs to play Sims. I'd actually moved to another state to be a professional singer. So while I still played The Sims, I rarely talked about it and I definitely stopped most other gaming. I guess this was because one thing that really upset me as a female gamer was the sexist and like non-inclusive of women in this area. These days, The Sims is way more accepting of everyone, and that makes my heart sing. But let me explain. As a teenage girl in the 2000s, going into a video game store and wanting to purchase a Sims expansion pack was always met with some pretentious, oily, cocky male who worked there, who always commented, oh, you play The Sims? Figures. Hot girls play The Sims. Ew. But this would just always grind my gears. In the early days, I'd get my dad to pick up the expansions, but one day, after losing my job as a waitress, I thought, you know what, maybe I could change that narrative. And I walked over to this new game store that was purple, and I put my resume in. So I started working at Game. I only worked there casually to begin with because I was studying music at the time. I slowly retained this regular customer base who shared my love of The Sims and other fun games like SingStar and Pokemon and Animal Crossing. And it was just so refreshing to find like-minded gamers. From the beginning, I was affectionately known as The Sims Girl. In 2009, Farmville was all over Facebook, but The Sims 3 was set to be released. I had grown-up money, and I was living in my own rental property, and I just bought my own sparkly beast of a computer, and I made sure it was going to run The Sims 3 and then some. This is when I got my Sims plumb bob tattoo on my ankle, and I remember telling my customers, well, if the game sucks, I'll get it covered up with like a Charizard or something. I worked so hard for that release. Surprisingly, I don't have any photos of this time. But I managed to do the most pre-orders for the base game than any other gaming retailer in Australia. Yeah, well, look at that Sims girl now. The day it launched, it was a Thursday, and we have late night trading. So I booked the Friday off of work so I could spend the whole next day playing my new game on my new computer. I worked from 7 a.m. to set up until 10 p.m. close so I could serve all my customers, all my Sims regulars. And then I went home, started to install The Sims 3, and it wouldn't read the disc. Over and over, I tried to get it to install, and it would just stop.
6.5 hours later.
At 4 a.m., after many forbidden words later, it finally installed. And you know what? I still struggle with The Sims 3 today. Safe to say, The Sims 3 is not my favourite of the franchise, but you know, it's like your children. You have to love them regardless of their negative traits. So I worked at Game for 4.5 years, and during this time it had its ups and downs. I was promoted from casual staff member to store manager, running multiple stores, and then to area manager in training. I made some amazing friends, relationships, memories. In 2010, I got my infamous WoohooTattoo. I did it as a joke because if you know, you know, right? A short while after, I started a Tumblr page, mainly reposting Sims content and posting my own screenshots, and the girl with the WoohooTattoo was born. It's a playful nod to Stieg Larsson's The Girl with the Dragon tattoo, which the movie came out in 2011. Trust me, it was funny at the time. And fun fact, I still post on that same Tumblr today. Unfortunately, my journey at Game came to a screeching halt when the company entered administration and we all lost our jobs in 2012. My store was the last to close, and it was absolutely soul-destroying to see all my friends and co-workers have to pick up their lives and just move on. Some people are still in the gaming industry today, and one friend of mine works for Nintendo Australia, and I'm so proud that he was my assistant manager. So after the Game breakup, I needed a job, okay? I was about to get married and I had just bought a house. This is terrible timing. But it just so happens the day that we closed, I had a job interview as a travel agent. Obviously, the Sims fan inside me still existed, so while I was living my new corporate tourism sales role, I had to remain professional. One of my besties made me Sims cupcakes for my birthday, and the other made me Sims themed invites for my hens night. And it was about this time that EB Games announced a Sims competition. They were looking for Australia's biggest Sims fan, so, I sent them this. And they sent me this back. So yeah, I guess you could say I'm Australia's biggest Sims fan. Ha, YOLO! This was the first time I came into contact with EA Games. So they would send me physical copy discs of expansion packs, stuff packs in the mail right up until when Sims 3 ended. And my mum used to call me and say, your package from The Sims is here. And I'd have to remind her that I didn't buy it. I just felt so grateful to win this amazing title. Everything is fine. But here's the twist. I was working as a travel agent, but I had never actually been overseas. Kind of ironic, right? So one day the area manager of EB Games requested to meet with me before work and offered me a management role at one of his stores. I decided the Sims girl would make her triumphant return. In 2013, I made my way back into gaming retail, this time working for EB Games. The amazing opportunities that EB opened up for me were phenomenal. In my first month, I was invited to the EB Expo in Sydney and they had a Sims booth. Yeah, we're almost at Sims time now. And I fangirled the hell out of that place. And I was really sick. I still fangirled. I even got to play the new Creator Sim. And this is where I met Liz and started to network with the EA Australia team. Okay, Sims 4 was about to be released and I was hyped. My EB store was already covered in the green Sims Plumbob diamonds. I was planning a Sims party to have at my house before the release. And then one day I got this email from Liz. She'd invited me to the Sims 4 preview event to be held in Sydney. At this event, I was able to meet YouTubers, press media, the EA Australia team, as well as Sim Guru Graham. We had cocktails, Sims-themed cupcakes. Seriously, everything was cupcakes from like 2007, 2014. We even had a cute little photo op area with a picket fence. We had time to play The Sims 4 early and we were even able to take home some of the content that we recorded, but I spent most of my time reading the punny book titles. We all had dinner together and Graham and I swapped stories of when he used to work at GameStop, which is America's EB Games. I met so many lovely people that night, and honourable mentions goes out to Brian of Resident Entertainment, Caitlin Sims, Deligracy, and James Turner, who all chatted to me about starting a YouTube channel. I felt so special to be invited to such a fantastic event. It was truly a highlight and a night to remember. When I returned from Sydney with stories from the coolest people in the Sims world, I hosted my Sims house party with my favourite Simmer friends, complete with dress-up, pools made of jelly, woohoo cupcakes, and motherlode themed cocktails. I still have all the decorations. Actually, I think the hunger bar is still in my fridge. So these were the interactions that pushed me further into the Sims community. I didn't even realise how big YouTube was for Simmers. Maybe I was too old. But it was then that I decided to take the plunge, and I uploaded my favourite Sims video to YouTube in 2015. You should go watch it. It's explosive. I'll link it here. While I was still a gamer at heart, the industry was becoming repetitive and geared towards online content and collectibles. And now that I've been overseas, I made a huge decision to leave EB and go back into the travel industry to continue my adventure with a different team. Hello! It's 2016 now. Phew, I hope you're still with me. Okay, well, I'm back to being a travel agent, but this time I'm working mainly online and I am completely Disney mad. New life goal, go to all the Disneylands. Side note, completed this in 2017. So I was editing travel videos to go with my travel blog that could help me promote my business. But little did I know, I was about to receive an email from someone that I met at the Sims 4 preview event. In his email, Brian asked if I would be the Sims correspondent for his website, Resident Entertainment. He said that he would give me connections to EA Australia so I could receive Sims packs and review them. But what he didn't know is that I was already helping some of the EA team with their personal travel plans, and I'd already built myself quite a rapport with previous roles. So this is kind of when it all happened for me. I started writing my silly little articles for Resident, and then Brian encouraged me to make some silly little videos to go with my silly little articles. And from here, well, the rest you probably are aware of. So here's a nice time to remind you to hit subscribe because, well, I've been here for a while. But let's go deeper. In 2017, after making YouTube content for a while, my friend Hyperstrike convinced me to start streaming on Twitch. So considering I had a background in radio and production, it was definitely my favourite platform because it felt like my own TV show. I met amazing people in the Twitch community, and through Twitch Adelaide, I attended many of their community meetups and eventually helped them plan and host them. Oh yeah, and I worked for JB Hi-Fi for a split second in there, and I also got another Sims tattoo, my death flower, to keep me safe.
What are you doing to me? Tattooing you.
After I returned from an overseas trip for my birthday, I ended up really sick, which I ignored, worked stupidly hard, and inevitably developed chronic fatigue disorder. This meant that my life became challenging to balance everything: work, play, social, and health. 2019 is when I started to feel these challenges more. I separated from my husband, moved house, went through a lot of personal challenges and growth, and was forced to change everything. I needed a fresh start. I even changed my handle to the Lady Stardust briefly, but went back to WoohooTattoo. At the end of 2019, I was able to attend PAX in Melbourne and even hosted a Simmers meetup from some amazing people who I'd met through the communities. 2020, obviously the year of the pandemic. In South Australia, we had an amazing health minister. Our state was completely locked down, which meant no one could travel in and out, but it also meant that we didn't have any infections for like 12 months. I signed my divorce documents the day the lockdown started. 2 weeks later, I started trauma therapy. I came off some nasty medications. I had glandular fever. I lost too many jobs to count. Work from home just wasn't for me. I was living alone. I was struggling. But through all of this mess, I still had The Sims. And The Sims asked me to be a part of their stay and play event. And I got to stream, hosted live on their Twitch. This was to encourage people to stay home and stop the spread of COVID-19. And it was so amazing. I streamed on Easter. Once we were finally able to travel again, I headed straight to Melbourne to see my amazing Simmer friends. And these wonderful people did an amazing job at revamping the Sims community that I had tried to create back in the day. The Sims ANZ, which is now a thriving community led by Maddie and Luke. These days, I don't stream on Twitch anymore. The platform has since changed and no longer aligned with what I enjoy. However, I still create content for The Sims here on YouTube. And I've been a part of the EA Creator Network, formerly EA Game Changers, since 2018. So in the past year, I've switched careers again, and I'm now working as an assistant manager in a wine bar. Fewer hours, less responsibility, and it is fun. This change has just given me time to focus on me. It's allowed me to work on my well-being, mental health, and just truly enjoy my life. And I know that I've come leaps and bounds. I can go to the gym now. I've started painting. I've made Sims earrings and key rings with resin. I enjoy my time alone. And last year, I even went to a Twitch event again. It was so refreshing to see my mates welcome me back so warmly. As this video comes to a close, I want to say a massive thank you to all the people I've come across through these years. Big thanks to my friends, the community we created, the managers who hired me at the game stores, the EA staff who emailed me and posted me games, and Brian who recommended me to write for him. There are people who aren't with us anymore, but are in my thoughts. And of course, the Simmers who showed their loyalty by shopping with me and making me feel like I was really fighting to change the narrative in the world of female and inclusive gaming. And of course, The Sims. The Sims franchise has been a huge part of my life, shaping my creativity, my career, and let's be honest, my ability to function on little sleep. Time zones? What? So whether you've been playing for a few years or since the beginning, I'm sure we've all built something special along the way. And here we are, 2025, 25 years of The Sims. Funny how I'm only 29. Interesting. I couldn't tell you how many hours of play I have in total, but according to the EA app, I have 9,412 hours on Sims 4. That's literally insane. Thank you so much for watching, for supporting my journey, and sticking around until the end. I'm always excited to see what's next for The Sims, and for me, maybe a Galapagos tattoo. Too niche. Here's to 25 years of The Sims. Dag dag! Well, now that video's over, I guess I won't touch The Sims for a month now. Don't forget to save your game!